Tonight on Beer Geek Nation, we look at Founders Brewing, Dirty Bastard. Hey guys, welcome to Beer Geek Nation. I'm your host, Chris Steltz. Tonight we are going back to the middle of the countries with one of my personal favorite breweries, Founders Brewing. Most of you probably have heard of Founders through their Kentucky Breakfast Stout, or their Breakfast Stout, which they're really known for. Two, just perfect examples of imperial stouts. They also make a lot of year-round stuff. They make their Centennial IPA, their Red Rye, their Porter, and this little baby right here is their Dirty Bastard, which is their Scotch Ale. Now, let me geek out a little bit here about Scotch Ales. Scotch ales go by kind of weird numbers. Basically, it starts, at a 30 shilling, a 40. It goes from 30 up to 80 shilling, and then it goes into wee heavies. The shilling was actually based on a tax system, whereas the amount of alcohol in the beer was what was traditionally taxed by the Great Britain at the time, which was kind of overpower of Scotland. So that's where they got the shilling based on the alcohol, the shilling rating based on the alcohol percent, and that shilling, amount stuck with the beer. Most of the time, you see a lot of 80 shillings and kind of 40 shillings in there. And again, they are going to go up in range. Once you get into the lower ranges, they're just considered like Scotch ales, regular Scotch ales. This one, and I should say, wee heavies are above 80 shillings. They're going to be in the 9 to 12% range, just absolute malt bombs. Skull Splitter is a real popular one of those. But this particular one comes in at 8.5%. I think it's 50 IBUs. It doesn't say, they don't call it an 80 shilling or a wee heavy or anything. This is somewhere in between a wee heavy and an 80 shilling. It definitely has the characteristics malt-wise of a wee heavy. But as far as the alcohol content, it's real close, but it's not quite there. So I would put this more on the 80 shilling side of things, which, it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, that's that. So I'm expecting, there shouldn't be a lot of hop characters in this. I am expecting a huge malt load, just bready and biscuity and kind of real heavy mouthfeel. Dark red color, kind of an off-white head, I would assume. This is a year-round beer for them, so if you can get Founders, you're going to be able to get this. For you guys who can't get Founders, I'm sorry to hear that, number one, but definitely you can trade for this. This is an easy one to get for us lucky, fortunate people who can get Founders stuff. This actually came out of a variety pack I have, so you definitely should be able to trade for it, no problem if you don't have it. They also make an oak-aged version of this, which is it's a seasonal. It's only released... off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's only released 2 or 3 months a year. And it's called Backwoods Bastard. It's basically this, but they age it in oak barrels, kind of like they do with Kentucky Breakfast Stout. So let me get this poured into a glass, let you know how it smells, how it tastes, and get the verdict. Pour the bottle. Don't expect any hop characters whatsoever, and there definitely aren't any there when pouring it. Some double IPAs you get hit in the face with hops. These aren't present here. This beer is just meant to be an absolute malt bomb, and I can tell you the initial smell I was getting. Lots of alcohol, lots of phenol alcohol. It's definitely there, and alcohol is kind of hard to hide if you don't have hops built into the beer. So you do have to kind of expect that from the Scottish style ales. Being they are basically just malt delivery systems, and I mean you can definitely smell it in this one. Lots of phenol alcohol, deep dark malts, just a hint of like a coffee flavor, and based on the color is it's a dark brown, like a ruby. Very little lacing, very little head. When there is head, it's like a light, like an off-white eggshell kind of color. I'm assuming they probably use some kind of chocolate malt in this, so you're getting that coffee kind of roasted malt aroma to it, and it's definitely there. It's very small, but it is there. Yeah, and you're just getting the bready, malty characteristics that I would expect from a wee heavy. A little bit of yeasty characters to it, a little bit of the fruitiness from yeast, so that's definitely there. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite beers. This is just a perfect example of a Scottish style 80 shilling / wee heavy. It's just, to describe it, it's basically like eating a loaf of rum soaked raisin bread, if you can kind of get that visualization. No hop bitterness whatsoever. With this one, there is a little bit in the midsection of the tongue. I get a slight hint of hop bitterness, but it's gone as fast as it's there. Just a ton of malt characters, dark, deep roasted, raisins, tons of like rye bread and just bready characters, and the yeast, the fruity esters from the yeast characters you get too. I don't get any. I get the smallest amount of the kind of the roasted chocolate malt in there, but not nearly as much as it smells like it is. Yeah, I'm getting raisin characteristics as it kind of warms up. This is that's about 50 degrees, which is where I like to drink wee heavies. Kind of just opens the beer up, lets the aroma get going, and that's really something you want to do with a beer like this. It doesn't have a whole lot of hop characters to it, and I think kind of people get kind of caught up in what's the hoppiest beer, what hops work, and they kind of the wee heavies and the double box, they kind of get left to the side, and these are still excellent beers, and I think people kind of need to broaden their scopes a little, so that we do get more Scottish ales from some of the bigger breweries, because I think it's kind of a lesser brewed beer, and I think it's just as good. It's on the opposite end of a double IPA, but it's it's just as good as, say, a double IPA in a different way. So if you've never had a Scotch ale and you can get this, I highly recommend it. This is an amazing beer. On a scale of 1 to 10, this one's getting a 10, bar none. It was 8.5%, 50 IBUs. It's from Founders Brewing. It's their Dirty Bastard Scotch style ale. And like I said, this is a year-round beer for them. So if you can get Founders, you're going to be able to get this. It's in their mixed variety case, if you can get cases. If not, you're definitely going to be able to trade for this, no problem, on Beer Advocate, Rate Beer, wherever you get your beers. It's definitely one worth seeking out, and it's easy to get, and it's really good stuff. And if you can get the Backwoods Bastard, which is the barrel-aged version of this, I highly recommend that. I have one in the fridge, actually, I was going to review, coming up here pretty soon, so look forward to that. But until next time.